folks, Hippie here from Hippie's Hobby Hole, coming at ya with my spinny chair. No, today I'm fixing the P-51 again and again and again. E-Flight, don't get me wrong, I love the planes and stuff. You can look, T-28, look at that. You look skyward, you'll see more E-Flight and you'll see more Horizon Hobby planes. Pretty much 90% of my collection of ultra micros and big ones, they were all Horizon Hobby, you know. And this is one particular model that they put out that I really like it. You know, I love the power system. You know, the 280 motor. It's great. I mean, power to ratio is extremely awesome. You know what I mean? This thing will just go like faster than a rabbit. Let's just keep it at that. But this thing is really awesome. But the foam they use to make it, it's like it's super small cells. You know, unlike the EPO and the EPP foam that they make their park flyer size and such from. This one is not made from that foam and is exceptionally brittle. It breaks easy. I mean, this thing pretty much during the flight, I mean, don't get me wrong, the winds were 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, like steady, 30 miles an hour gusts. I knew I wasn't supposed to be flying it. It's way too small for that. But you know what? I said, what the heck? I'll try to play with the wind and kite it. And I was able to do that. I flew out a full battery, you know. And I was kiting it against the wind, and I was trying to land it. And as you can see, it's just a belly lander. There's no landing gear. It's just trying to belly land it against this wind. And all I was doing was dialing back my throttle for it to settle in. And it was only a foot off the ground, man, when she tip stalled and shattered, completely shattered. So it seems to be like telltale mark for this particular E-Flight P-51 280 model. You know, they made that Viking, that biplane, out of the same electrical system, same everything, but they made it out of the same foam. That's why I won't get it. I wanted it, but I ain't gonna get it because of this foam. What can I tell you? I gotta just fix it again and again. But not just using ordinary stuff. But actually, for this particular fix, I'm gonna be using some Zap epoxy on the foam. It's good for the foam. It doesn't eat the foam. And so forth. It's stronger than the CA foam safe glue. This is good for lighter applications, stuff for the not critical for flight, you know, stuff for like the canopy or little tiny pieces, you know, that need to go on or whatever or together. Nothing critical for flight. I just don't find the strength to be there. Those are two kinds of adhesives. I also use high temp hot glue, which can be problematic with foam, but it's pretty strong, but it's heavy. With my epoxy, I'm getting up and close now. With my epoxy, I use the micro balloons filler, which lightens up the epoxy, makes it much easier to sand after it's hard. Gorilla Glue's okay. That's good for foam. These are good adhesives to have for if your planes and so forth are foam. As you can see, I don't know if you can see in the background over here, I got more stuff to fix, but that's besides the point. But yeah, so it's pretty much a 5-minute epoxy I like to use. That way I can do little pieces at a time instead of trying to do them all at once and figure out a way to hold it all together until it decides to set. So, but with that, these are little areas I'm going to be fixing right here along the fuselage, inside the fuselage, right in here, and on the other side of the fuselage, right there. Right now I have the wing in place with some toothpicks and so forth and alignment stuff in there, so all I got to do is mix up my epoxy with my filler here, my epoxy, my filler, my 2-part epoxy that is, and then this is a 1-to-1 ratio mix. This is a 3-to-1 ratio, so if I use 1 drop of each of this, that means I use 3 drops of this. But this is more like a powder. You want to be real careful. You do not want to be breathing this stuff in, because they're super small micro balloons and they fly with the dust. They're almost as small as mushroom spores. So you want to be careful with those. But when properly mixed, the epoxy and the filler, instead of being runny when it's just plain epoxy, when you mix these two correctly, it'll be more of like it'll almost be pasty, so it'll be much more easy to manage and jam down into those little crevices like that and that. I'm gonna get my little pointer here, like right there. Oops, get the shadow out, right there and right there and so forth, so you can pack it in there real nice. So that's the kind of epoxy and filler I use. Alright folks, I just mixed up some epoxy with those balloons. You can see how pasty this is. It's not runny at all. So I'm going to just jam those down into the crevices and so forth of my plane. And yeah, we'll get it glued together. So this is 5-minute stuff. I want to try to just be ever so careful and ginger. Make sure the right things get glued. I want to make sure all the right things get glued and not the wrong things. Having this stuff pasty makes it a little easier. You're able to keep control on it a little bit more. So, hopefully, when this is done, should be able to fly this puppy, finally. But, it's all a matter of the right stuff getting glued. Have the wing in there for alignment. I'm just hoping other things inside there don't get glued. Always want a rag or something close by, because when epoxy starts getting, epoxy's just nasty, sticky, icky, hard to thin out type of stuff. I believe you can thin it out with alcohol, which I have some denatured alcohol back there somewhere. So yeah, that's it. Now it's just a matter of keeping everything pressed together, clean up all the excess glue or epoxy in this instance. Let's get that all cleaned up, smoothed out. Got in there, see how this thing fits, see how the canopy fits. Oh. Like a glove. So now I just wait the probably 3 minutes that is left after I get done, like, you know, mixing it and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna go like this. Seems to be holding. Won't take long. And how you can tell you're really close to the stuff setting up. You keep your little cup, your little piece of cardboard, wherever you mix your epoxy, keep it close, and the remainder, feel the back side of the piece of cardboard or the cup or whatever, the remainder there will get hot. It'll get really hot, so you know it's setting. As soon as that happens, you know it's about to set and go hard. So any mild adjustments you need to make on your repair, that's the, you know, it should have been a little bit earlier, but any last minute you can. So I'm just kind of holding this in place. Want to ensure that doesn't get. Because as you know, I'm just getting the sides here, and then this little shelf here. Well, right under this shelf here, it's a little hollow where the rest of the wing is, and a servo. So I wanted to kind of loosen that bolt. Oop, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to loosen this bolt here so I could make sure that it can hang down a little bit and I can see in. Make sure it's right. Not gluing up that servo, because that's the last thing you want to do is glue up a servo. So, yep, it's just a matter of waiting it out, you know. But with this particular model, I've put a lot of carbon fiber in. I got a couple rods of carbon fiber up here and on the bottom side. There was carbon fiber flat stock on the inside of this. Just where it ended on the other side here, just where it ended is where it broke. So wherever carbon fiber is, carbon fiber keeps it together between that and the epoxy. There it is. So I got it all glued back together. It was all down here along the sides, here and here. I was able to get the wing off, fix the servo arm. Didn't glue that on, which was good. But yeah, it's just a matter of throwing it back together, connecting the wires and the servos and so forth, and we'll have a functioning plane. So I hope you've enjoyed this stuff. I do. I enjoy it. But I had to make all sorts of modifications. So forth. Now she's in place. There we go. Add the screw. Here we go. Ciao.